Despite what their moms told them, they just aren't talented enough for radio. Unfortunately, anyone can have a show these days. Sean.
Well, I'm pretty hard to figure out sometimes. In fact, I can't even figure myself out sometimes, so don't you try to.
Joe.
You're an idiot. And really a disloyal person.
This is the Cuse Militia. Now, those two unapologetically biased orange-blooded homers, Sean and Joe.
It's the most bullshit thing I've seen in 30 years.
Welcome, orange men and ladies. We are back. Happy Sunday. This is the Cuse Militia with Sean and Joe. At Cuse Militia on the socials. Go there. Join the militia. Thanks for tuning in and hanging out with us. We appreciate all of you. Syracuse put together their third win in a row in ACC play, a 92-69 bullying of Louisville. Bring Syracuse back up above 500. You'll hear from us, and we'll hear from you in fan feedback. Then we'll let you know what we think about the Orange back on the road to take on Boston College this Tuesday at 8 p.m. But before we get into all that, we obviously missed the NC State game. A lot of stuff going on. Joe was traveling. He was dealing with the weather, and it just didn't work out. It's been a long time since a show didn't pan out, but sometimes it happens. So we apologize, but it's fun to be back and talking about 3 in a row for the basketball team. So, look. Let's hit these 3 signees real quick, Joe. The big one, Greg Delane, flipped him from Georgia Tech, and Syracuse is going to grab an ACC foe, big recruit, a cornerback, 6'1", 170 pounds out of Florida. I'm sorry, look, I've been out of the loop. These 3 recruits, I'm just going to be straight up. I haven't watched any tape. Normally I do. But I haven't. So I did a little reading though, and it seems like a big deal. So, and it's always tough to track who we're recruiting. I know like a lot of people really love doing that stuff. It just doesn't tickle my fancy at all. I like to just know. So I don't know many of these names, which you can say what you want about that. But anyways, flipped him from Georgia Tech, Joe. That's pretty good. And like we said, Babers has got to turn it up, and he has. Well, we'll see how this comes together, but a decent recruit in Greg Delane, no doubt. So the other one, a kicker. Okay, we all know about the Syracuse kicking woes that we've had the past year. 6 foot, 180 pound Brady Denneberg. He's also out of Florida. Other offers from Air Force, Florida, and Rhode Island. So. A kicker waiting in the wings. That's decent. Obviously, as we know, we have a kicker, but it is always good to have another backup.
Yeah.
And then a defensive end in Kevin Jobidi Jr. And 6'4", 250 is a good size, and he's out in New York. So that's good. Recruiting out of the state there. So offers from Army, Harvard, Villanova, and Yale. And smart cookie must be, huh? So
a little bit, right?
Yeah, gotta be.
A little bit.
So, Joe, any of these stand out to you? Do you have any input on anything? What can you add?
Yeah, I mean, I think they stand out for me because I do think that, we see, 2 guys that are probably going to be most likely starters in the not so distant future, talking 1-2 years. As far as the kicker goes, Denneberg, he might be the starter next year, right?
That's possible.
Now Kevin,
yeah.
I'll start with Kevin Jobidi Jr. He's currently not ranked, and you named his scholarships. He got Army late, and this guy really he's kind of an under the radar guy because he's raw and he hasn't maximized his talent. At 6'4", 250. Played a little bit of football in middle school, but then when he had to make a decision when he came to high school / junior high or whatever, he chose soccer over football. And we do know, being from New York, that it's the same season sports. You got to pick one or the other. But he did play. He moved to football. I think probably he got to a certain size where it probably wasn't practical for him to be a soccer player anymore.
Yeah.
So he he went to football his junior and his senior year. So he's raw. We do need help there, and in-state guy. So This is really a guy that, he's not even ranked yet. He will be once 247 and, the scouting places take a look at him. Whether he's a 2 or 3 star, yet to be determined. But this is the guy that we felt that he had the raw skills and athletic ability to possibly help us one day. This is a guy that, D-line, you're talking, 2-3 years down the road, especially if he is as raw as they say he is, to get some technique down and stuff like that. But hey, might be a diamond in the rough, might be a guy that just realizes that, his maximum talent, it's not at that level, and he might end up transferring. But either way, not a bad get. Now, Greg Delane, I thought was a good get because, he had offers from Wake Forest, Utah, Central Florida, Mississippi State, Georgia Tech, and we flipped him from it, and Iowa State as well. And we flipped him from Louisville, yep. So we flipped him from an in-conference team, and don't want to call him a rival, but Georgia Tech's been on the rise, and he comes in where, right now we're kind of loaded at corner. So I don't see him coming in and helping this year, although, weirder things have happened. But I think with Garrett and Deuce and, Elijah coming in now. Yeah,
it's a spot we worried about last year that is just solid going into next year.
Yeah, and I look at like Quan Peterson and like him and stuff. They're perfect size to kind of come in and reenact, and hopefully, with Garrett Williams being the leader that he is and learning from those guys, and obviously Deuce Chestnut and stuff. Hopefully, 1-2 years, this guy's ready to come right in and just kind of pick up where Garrett and Deuce and those guys left off. So again, I think he's a future starter for our team. And then the kicker Brady Denneberg, really. Intriguing. When you look at kickers, it's tough to tell because some teams they get walk-ons and so many different types of kickers. And, they have the Coles professional kicking camp, right? That's how they kind of do the kickers, punters, long snappers, and they have their own kind of camps and their own rating system, so to speak. And according to Coles, they have him as the 12th ranked kicker in this class. And just a little comment from their website. It's Denneberg competed at the Coles Future Stars camp in January of 2021. He was clearly one of the best players in attendance. He was easily able to hit a 57-yard field goal off the ground to win the competition at the Future Star camp. Denneberg is a strong and talented athlete who also played quarterback. He has hit some big kicks for his high school team, and with continued focus on kicking, he has the talent to be a top 5 guy in the 2022 class. Denneberg is someone to follow in the coming months as he will get better with more experience. So just off of that, one of the better guys that they saw in their camp had him ranked 12th. And to their point, this isn't even a guy. This is a guy that's playing quarterback. So you can only imagine how much time he's putting in, or how much time he has put in to playing quarterback as well. Other than this isn't just a kicking specialist, right? So, it's nice to have this type of depth. We have 2 scholarship punters, 2 scholarship kickers, and then 2 walk-ons on each side with the new special teams coach. So, this to me just means that, we're not going to miss on kicking, and we're not going to let special teams be the woes or the, the kind of, egg on the head that's going to stop this team from winning some games. So not going to start this year with Andre Smith here, but give him 1 year to get some strength and just only concentrate with this new special teams coach with kicking. And I think this guy's going to be ready to step in next year as a, redshirt freshman, giving us 4 years of a decent kicker. Yeah.
So good. Coles is I guess they've took over the kicker game, right? But didn't we get duped by Coles?
We did, by James Williams so far. So, yeah. But, so. We had Hoffrichter was up there too, and he ended up working out pretty well. So
yeah, absolutely, to be fair. But and those things are hard to judge, somewhat. So anyways, all right. Before we get into, we have so much. We have we have tidbits. We're not going to talk too much about NC State. Obviously, we didn't get here for it. I don't want to. It's come and gone. You've already heard all the analysis that there is to hear, and so we will focus on Louisville and Boston College. who they will play. Syracuse will play Tuesday. But before we get started, today's episode is brought to you by Sports Drink. This is your digital water cooler. Sports Drink is a newly created internet community that tries to find the intersection of sports and not sports. They're here to help us grow and to help you hate your favorite team. A rising tide lifts all boats, so go check them out online or on social. Go to sportsdrink.org or open Instagram and type in @sportsdrink. That's spelled SPRTSDRNK, like sports drink without the vowels. They have written content, but their main focus is on podcasts like ours, and they have MLB, NBA, NFL, and a plethora of NCAA stuff that you can go check out. So if you would, again, sportsdrink.org. Okay, look, here's what Coach had to say after the game.
You know, we were really good defensively today in the first half. Louisville's coming off an overtime game with Carolina and a really close game with Duke. And you can see at the end when we didn't play defense there at the end, they can shoot. And, you know, our defense was just good. And it just makes it easier for us when our defense is good. It doesn't put as much pressure on our offense. And, I mean, offensively, we moved well. You know, Joe did a great job of running the offense, getting Jesse when he was rolling and when he wasn't hitting the shooters. You know, it was just a really, really good offensive game again.
Hey, Jim, so can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
A couple of games ago in Pittsburgh, Joe really struggled, and he's been pretty good the last 3 games. And
Pretty good? Pretty good?
He's been pretty good the last 3 games.
No,
yeah.
he hasn't been pretty good, Donna.
Okay.
He's been really, really good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
But that's typical of what everybody says about Joe Girard. When he plays great, they say he's pretty good.
Okay. Well, descriptions aside, you know, how his
Words are
play-
important.
How has his play over the last 3 games? You know, how has that helped you put up these kinds of points that you're putting up?
Well, obviously,
How critical a team to your offense?
your point guard is critical for your offense, period.
Coach, another win, 3 straight now, with a slate of games coming up against teams in the bottom of the ACC. Should we see more of the guys coming off the bench, and assuming they play well?
Yeah, that'd be good. They went in up 30 and it got down to 18. I noticed those things. They have to play better. We need those guys to play better when they get in. They're getting opportunities, and if they can capitalize on them, then you know they're going to play. I watched Villanova play today. They're I think 10th in the country. They played 6 guys. One of them didn't. The 6th guy didn't. Yeah, the 6th guy played. That was it. I think the biggest thing is that Jimmy and Cole, you know, are guys coming in first year. Jesse's getting his first long minutes, and I think it's taken them time to get to this level. I think offensively they played pretty well enough, a lot, to win more games. Our defense just wasn't good enough. But if you look at portal guys all across the country, especially the more of the guys you know, most of them aren't doing as well. It takes time to adjust to a new program. It is not that easy to come out of the portal and play right away. One thing about the old way, when you sat out the year, you kind of got used to what the system was, and it was maybe a little easier, like Elijah Hughes, Mike Benajay, going back to Wesley Johnson. They were with us a year. They knew what we were doing. They were comfortable. They came right out of the box playing really well. Yeah, I mean, I think the fans are great. Our fans have always been great. You know, I can't wait till we get them back and they don't have to wear masks and they can just do whatever. I think we're every place we go, there's no mask. This is the only place I can see it. And, you know, I know a lot of fans that just aren't coming. They don't want to do it. They don't want to do that. They don't want to do all that stuff. So hopefully we can get to a point where we can get there. But our fans have been great early in the year, and now they've been great. We just have to keep playing. We can keep working, keep playing. Boston College has beaten Notre Dame up there. They've beaten Virginia Tech. They played really well. And there's no one in this league that can't beat you if you don't play, if you don't go out and play well. You can't just play, you have to play well. We made Louisville look bad. They're not that bad. We just played really, really well on both ends of the court. That's key.
All right, Joe. A little bit long montage, but it was over 12 minutes, and there was some good stuff in there, and then there was just some stuff I wanted to add because I thought it was funny. All right, so these 3 wins, okay, you're gonna get the ones that poo-poo these 3 wins. They still strung together three wins in a row. This was a quad 3 game at home, so they should win that. That's correct, but they did. So. And they strung together 3 wins. We talked about going into this stretch here and how important it was to get as many as we could. And so far, they're 3-1 from where we made a point of that. So, anyways, we will continue. So, and this is going to be the stretch that's going to make or break this team. And it's very important that who they play. Whoever they're playing, they win. The defense has been better. As far as offense, obviously we know they can score. The difference is that they're scoring together, and there's been really good ball movement. Like ball movement that we haven't seen so far this year. And you've got Cole Swider. Okay, I don't pay attention to a lot of other written things, or I don't listen to any other Syracuse sports podcasts, but I know that Joe and I have been talking about Cole Swider needing to get going, and him kind of being the key to being successful and allowing other guys to get opportunities to shoot if he becomes a threat. And over the past 3 games, he's scored 48 points. Joe has come alive over the past 3 games. He's scored 46 points, but he's going to score. But those 2 guys have been in a little bit of slumps, and Joe was in a little bit of a slump, but Cole is really, these 3 games is when it clicked for him, it seems like, offensively. His lowest total in a game was 11. I believe that was against Wake Forest. So, and that one started the 3-game win streak. So, it's really good, Joe. Have you noticed a visual difference in the way this team plays offense and defense?
I wouldn't necessarily say I have seen a difference in defense. It's just more consistent, because we've seen them do the stretches throughout the season, right? It's just we haven't seen it consistently. So I think that we've seen it a little bit more consistent. And as far as offense goes, absolutely. Absolutely. This offense, 2 games in a row, all of our starters have scored in double digits. We've shot over 50% from the floor for the past 2 games. And in the last 2 games, I believe we're 30 for 37 from the free throw line. And we're scoring baskets with way more assists. The turnovers, we're not having a crazy amount of turnovers. We're handling any type of pressure. I mean, albeit it hasn't been great the last couple of games, but we have been handling it. And we're still kind of slightly eking out the rebound battle. So, this is just what we talked about when everybody's hitting shots. This is what it looks like, especially when they start moving the ball around, and then I don't know, like, if it was just something clicked, or because I know we talked about it, the Wake Forest game, we won. Giannis was there, and he went back into the locker room, talked to the team, and he talked to them about how they played winning basketball and how they were passing, sharing the ball and everything like that. And I feel like that's kind of stuck, and it's moved forward to these other games. So absolutely, you can see the difference. But I mean, realistically, the difference is that they're just making their shots.
Yeah, it's been a lot cleaner. Everything about it's been cleaner. The turnovers have been limited, and it hasn't been a whole lot of sloppy basketball like we've seen leading up to this point at any given time could be completely sloppy. They've had sloppy moments, but that stuff's going to happen. I mean, Duke has sloppy moments, so go ahead.
I was just going to say they're moving the ball around better.
Yes,
sharing the ball. You don't see the hero ball anymore.
It's the extra pass, the pick and roll. Like Jesse has just become so good He's such a threat to either set a pick and let someone pop off from behind the arc, and he's just as dangerous rolling back in towards the basket. I mean, he's just been phenomenal.
Yeah.
There. I mean, how long has it been? How many years has it been, Joe, since we've utilized the pick and roll move this many times in every game? Like that, it's like an actual asset that we've been able to utilize. It's just been missing
we've
for so
always
long.
used the pick and roll. Whether or not
I understand
we pass it to the center is a different story, right?
The execution hasn't been there.
Rakeem Christmas, maybe.
Well, yeah,
that's
exactly.
Like maybe the last time. So yeah, the execution's there, and then obviously you see the third level too. You see the third layer of that. Jesse is actually, he's very decisive now. He gets it, and if he sees the clear path, he goes.
And you gotta admire the dunk too, instead of trying to lay it in or trying to be fancy.
I admire all that. I admire the footwork. I admire the fact that he keeps the ball up high. He doesn't take another dribble, so that a guard can take the ball away.
Take the one step and slam it home.
Everything that he is doing, as far as that's concerned, even now too, if somebody else rotates to try to stop him, then whoever left that guy, like we got somebody just sitting over there waiting for a 3-point. So even Jesse had he kicked up 3-pointers because after he caught the ball off that roll, somebody else had to rotate to stop him from getting a dunk, and now someone's wide open from the 3-point line. So, and any other 4 people or players that are out there, as far as starters, can hit that 3-pointer. So overall, you see it, and you see the players moving better, and overall, it's the offense. If we continue to play teams that cannot, they just don't have the skill set and the players to stop our offense, then this is what you see, especially if we're shooting like this.
Joe Girard, he's been pretty good. I love that clip, by the way. I don't know what the hell.
God.
I don't know what Coach has got on, what his wild hair is with Donna, but I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say.
The thing is with that, I don't know. I think that's like 50% Donna and 50% just everybody that trashes Joe. She just happened to ask the question, right? Right. I think he would have acted like that to anybody that would have asked.
Probably.
I think he's just fed up with just the Joe Girard talk.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, totally. You're breaking up real bad. I don't know if you're on Wi-Fi, if your Wi-Fi is off on your phone, or what you got going on, but you are grainy and you are skipping, like, badly. We're getting what you're saying, but you're skipping. Okay, so look, Coach makes a great point that I haven't heard anybody talk about when it comes to Jimmy and Cole getting started on the year, and that is the transfer portal rules and not having to sit out a year and be able to practice with the team, but to just come in and immediately start practicing and playing. And I got to be honest, I never even really thought about that, and it makes complete sense. And Coach is right. You look at these guys that are transferring right away and playing right away. It does take time to learn, and especially with our program, what Syracuse has going on, I think it's even more of a learning curve for a lot of guys. And you see that even Jimmy, his dad's been the coach for 46 years, and still, he had an adjustment period that definitely took some time for him to get a little bit more comfortable and stuff. So, it could just be that switch being turned on for mainly Cole, but it's a good point nonetheless. It's something to definitely consider when we talk about,
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Right?
And I think he's indirectly talking about Quincy.
I think he is.
And some of these guys, right?
Kadari does leave an assist. I think he leads in assists and steals on his team, but he's averaging 9 points a game. But his defense is definitely important. Obviously we could have used that. I think that's been the argument.
I think he's also leading the team in turnovers as well.
Okay,
so
there you go.
I was looking at some box scores: 7 turnovers, 9 turnovers.
Well, he did that last year. That's why he wasn't on the floor all the time.
Well, and that's what our fans, they want to cherry pick the 26-point game he had or something like that, right? But realistically, my buddy Sabo, his dad's a Seton Hall fan, watches every game, and he's like, and we talked about this when I was actually up at Syracuse last week. We talked about it, and he was basically, I was like, Kadari, this, and then he's like, he drives my dad crazy. Like, his dad doesn't like him. His dad doesn't like that he's on the team. And from what I understand, a lot of the Seton Hall fans aren't huge. Like, they can see the,
potential.
potential, but I guess he's just, kind of a one-on-one guy. And,
He tries
to do some crazy stuff.
I'm trying to be a star. I'm trying to be a star.
Right?
Yeah, we saw it. Yeah.
And we had, no matter what anybody wants to say, and I'm not saying that he couldn't have eventually fit here, but
I think he would have been. I think he would have been great this year, Joe.
Yeah,
I think he would have been great for Syracuse.
It's all about
this year.
attitude.
Yeah,
it's all about attitude and being able to take a role and just understand that that's the role until maybe next year, until something changes, or you'll work harder to, But at the end of the day, yeah, I mean, Seton Hall fans aren't the huge fan, as big of fans as him. And Quincy, he starts for Oregon, but I mean, he doesn't put up as great of numbers as you'd think. So
yeah. Okay, let's start wrapping this thing up here. Look, you heard Coach, and people will unfollow. People will DM me and threaten to not listen, and all that stuff's cute and everything. But we're still doing Zoom meetings with Coach and the press after the game. It's just, at what point do we say, okay, let's just stop? I put a picture up that people hate me for. I don't really care. I put a pic. Did you see the picture on Facebook? You're not on Twitter, but I put it on Facebook with the holes cut in the masks and blowing instruments and all that stuff. I mean, what are you doing to these poor kids, man? It's just so. It's so dramatic. It's such theater. Like, what are you trying to accomplish with all of it? And in the meantime, you're killing crowd sizes.
Mm-hmm.
And we all year we've been bagging on getting the crowds there and wishing they would loosen these COVID rules and all of these requirements to enter the dome. And it makes it difficult for families. Like Joe said, you can't just walk up and do this if you're not fully vaccinated and have a freaking vaccination license that they require at the door. You can't do those things. And until those things are gone, they've put some decent crowds in there, and hats off to Otto's Army for really stepping up a couple times and putting all the students in there, and they deserve all the credit in the world for that. But the locals showed up against Louisville, and it looked pretty decent in there, but we'll get into some of that in fan feedback, Joe. But look, at what point do they stop this madness? And they are like, look, okay, the whole country is on, Coach says there's no masks anywhere. Well, people wear masks, if in other places. I just don't know if it's required. People are having normal press conferences when they go on the road and stuff like that. It's just, I think it's time. I think it's time to stop doing it. I thought it was time a long time ago, and I know you're with me, but I mean, if you don't feel safe going to a game, then just don't go to a game. I mean, but everybody else would like to go to a game.
Yeah. I mean, that's just, I guess this is one of the things I think in, like, again, me being up there this week, I mean, it was more, they were more, kind of on you about the mass out in public than they were when I went last fall for a wedding. So, yeah. So,
well, so you noticed it, like, just around town and whatnot.
I noticed the difference between this past fall and when I came back up here. Just a 4 or 5, 6 month difference. There's this Omicron thing. They made it to where you have to do it in when you're out in a public place. And
like, again, you're talking about. Well, hold on, because I haven't been back to Syracuse in 2 years, but you're talking about like in restaurants and
stores,
supermarkets and stuff. Really?
I had.
And they say stuff to you.
I had to go to my grandma's wake, and we all had to wear masks. I had no idea who anybody was. No, so again, when I went up there in the fall, it said something like, please wear your mask if you are not vaccinated. That's like what the signs were.
Right, and then now, it's the honor system.
And then when I came up this time, right, and then when I came up this time, it was basically everybody, mask mandatory for everybody.
No matter what.
Places. So, yeah, so I think this Omicron thing got them all, and I think it's just one of those things where I think that some people they don't understand that, like, they think that because it's happening there and they listen to whatever they listen to as far as news or whatever, like that, like, but it's not the same. Like, it's not the same where you live. It's not the same where I live. And we know that they don't do any more world news because they don't want anybody in the U.S. to see how every other country is dealing with this. So at the end of the day, it's just one of those things where some people they're in their element, they're in their bubble, and they're being told that this is the way that it is. And that's just not necessarily the truth everywhere else. So, I mean, it's up to them, really. I mean, if they want to keep taking this hit, they're not going to sell out. If they want to keep taking this hit and everything like that, then they can do that. And already I've noticed, or I've heard, because there's one extra game and Notre Dame's coming to the the dome, that I've heard season tickets up in the 300s doubled from 100 to 200. So if you're going to double ticket prices for season tickets for football,
they're trying to make up the difference here. Some of the people who are paying are going to have to pay more.
Well, yeah, but now you're going to talk about paying more, and do I really want to deal with that again, right? So, there's going to be twofold. So, again, it's up to the university and how long they want to,
play the game.
Play the game, or,
at this point, to me,
until they take a certain hit.
Right. At this point, to me, it's well, I'm sure they've taken a little bit, but at this point, I just feel like it's theater. When you got holes in your mask and you're blowing in instruments, and last I checked, someone replied, well, they have bell covers on them. That's like what goes on the end of a saxophone or a trumpet. It's like a mesh thing, which is not going to stop. If you're blowing COVID through it, it's not going to stop it, for one. For two, they don't have them on flutes. And it is what it is. It was meant to be fun because it looks stupid. Okay, the picture I posted. But you're right. It's I think it's long time to just stop, and if you don't feel safe or you're vulnerable, maybe you probably shouldn't go. I think that's how it should be, and it's risk analysis, individual risk analysis on everybody's part.
It's called personal responsibility.
Yeah.
That's what it's called.
So that reminds me, Joe. So we talked last week, and I'm not trying to start anything here, but I just thought it was odd because we talked last week about the I kept seeing stuff where people were like, why would you wish fans not to show up at the dome and things like that? And honestly, that didn't make any sense, right? So we were wondering where it came from. I had specifically said that I didn't know where it came from, but someone had retweeted a tweet from the Locked On Syracuse podcast account, and I guess this was on 125 that they originally tweeted it, and it said, since this tweet, Syracuse has gone 3-0 and broke 2 attendance records for the year. So they tweeted, I hope less than 10,000 fans show up to the Dome on Saturday and every game after. The only way to spark change is to embarrass. Now, Joe, the only reason I bring this up is because I think there's a disconnect between maybe a Locked On type show and our show, whereas, honestly, we're fans. We grew up in Syracuse. We talk about bleed orange like we bleed orange. We're fans. And although we can be critical, I think that as locals growing up there, that you would never wish for the dome to be empty. You always want to bring the crowds in because I think obviously the players deserve it. And
right.
So that's where it came from. I was a little taken back for a podcast to be doing that, but I guess I don't know much about Locked On, but I think they're Newhouse kids or gentlemen, men, whatever, young men. And maybe they just don't understand the local feel for Syracuse and growing up and being part of, Syracuse Orange since the Syracuse Orange men.
Well, that could be it, and I'm sure that it's not, that it didn't just come from them. Obviously.
That's the only one I saw. Just to be fair, you're probably right, but that's the only one I saw.
I get that, but I'm just saying, I'm sure that there's a bunch of fans that are like that,
Oh,
right?
absolutely, yeah. Absolutely.
So, all you can really do is speculate. It's just, again, we kind of talked about this. Like, I just don't see a diehard, especially growing up and seeing the effect, going through and seeing how Syracuse has been and what Jim Boeheim's done to, not only the university, but the city, the town, fans, everything.
It's growing. So
there's a lot of stuff.
I'm sorry, Joe. Real quick. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you. But
no, go ahead.
Living here in Virginia Beach, and when I talk about Syracuse, I'm like, growing up, Joe, that's all we had. Like, there's not a ton in Syracuse to do. We get the fair close, right? I grew up on the lake, Oneida Lake, and that was a blast. But the main thing Syracuse has is their football and basketball programs. And that's what we knew growing up. And that's Syracuse. into like, right? And so
college basketball,
the
Syracuse game in Syracuse was the show. It's the show of the town.
Yes, and you have, I mean, I have an affinity for Syracuse. I haven't been there. I've lived in Virginia Beach for over 20 years now. Nothing can change the way I feel about Syracuse basketball and football. It's all we knew. And I tell people, hey, Syracuse is really a little town, and all we had is our basketball and football programs, and that's what we pride ourselves on, and that's what that city was built on, and that's what Jim Boeheim has. He's the staple.
School.
Yeah. He's the staple. The basketball program is the staple of that whole city. Why you would not want people to show up to a game is crazy talk to me. It just doesn't make any sense.
Well, you're an either just over the top, overboard fan,
like angry, like just sour about it or salty about it. The worst
season that we've had in 50 years, or so on and so forth. I mean, that's the whole thing. I just don't understand sometimes is that, again, it's a situation where, I mean, some of this stuff in this situation is being said by someone hasn't been a diehard, and maybe they just started being Syracuse fans because they went to Syracuse, right? So they haven't grown up. They haven't had, like, again, exactly what you just explained. They don't have that. They don't have that experience of a lifetime where you've seen everything, like what he's built.
Where your first sporting event ever in your entire life was a Syracuse game, and for years growing up, it's all I ever knew as a sporting event.
Yeah, I
think
that right, and that's the thing is that, I mean, and I'm not saying anything that they're not true fans or real fans, but if you're diehard, you are a Syracuse fan, you grew up and just lived and breathed Syracuse. You could be as upset as you want. I mean, we've talked about it. We can tell in these podcasts that, like, we're lost sometimes because we're in uncharted waters. We've never in our lifetimes even seen. So, I mean, I can understand being a little upset and being a little mad, but
yeah, absolutely. We're there. We were there.
We still are. I mean, we still got a lot of making up to do. But at the end of the day,
sure,
I can be as mad as I want, and I still understand that Jim Boeheim, he gets to go out the way that he gets to go out. He built this thing.
Yeah.
And, at the end of the day, I don't see any way that he's going to tear it the hell down like everyone's saying. Because even some people are like, hey, he built it. He can tear it down before he goes. And some people feel like that. And I'm just along the lines of, we got alumni, we got the family and everything like that. And I just don't see – I still think that when he decides to bow out and retire, that if we don't go inside in family, in-house, like, an Autry or a Hopkins or a McNamara or something, it's still going to be a donation for a coach, So it is what it is. And to me, it's I guess, and I mean, we could be completely off base here, but in my eyes, like, I could never, ever say that. I could never, ever, at least seriously, tweet or say or write anything like that, because you don't wish that on
your program,
coaches, on what I mean, your program, anything like that.
Like, and you can separate, Joe. You can separate the school from the program, which I've done for numerous years. The school is one thing. When you talk about COVID restrictions and all this stuff, the program is that's what's embedded in me, is the programs. Mm-hmm. I didn't go. My wife did her undergrad there, but it was whatever, But, and I had, my wife did her undergrad there. We had, the $5 student section tickets, which was phenomenal. So it's good times, right? Late 90s. And it's just, I think as a local growing up there, it was just, when I heard about it, it was absurd. But when I saw where it came from, I was shocked. That's all. And I don't listen to Lockdown. Like I said, I don't listen to any Syracuse podcasts unless James Zuba's doing one. I might listen to him talk on Noons or something like that. I don't listen to him guest, but I've listened to him on Noons. So anyway, with that said, keep showing up. Keep showing up.
No.
Hopefully the rules get these restrictions get lifted soon, and we can see what a difference it can make when you got the basketball team clicking and you have these restrictions starting to wane and lift.
Yeah, and then honestly, if that did happen, to me personally, that would be an embarrassment to not only the team but the city, the university, the fans, everything. You don't just You don't just act like that after, one season that's not even finished yet. Right?
Yeah.
You just don't do that. I mean, that's just, you don't wish that upon anybody. And to me, that's just, that comment comes from somebody who either A, hasn't been a long-time fan, or B, somebody who's always hated Jim Boeheim.
And that is quite possible. Look, that's going to wrap that rant up. Huh? Okay. So here we are, 40 minutes into this thing, and we are now going to hear from you.
It's time to hear from you, the loudmouths from the Loud House.
All right, you guys know what to do at the end of every game. I ask you for your thoughts, and then you give them. I sift through them, and I'll pick some out. And we'll talk about them here. I seriously contemplated today to just go to Facebook for this. I really did. I am so straight up done with Twitter. It's not even funny. It's just that the amount of BS on Twitter is it's so old. I catch myself up in it because it's fun at first, and then it's like, okay, I'm done. You know what I'm saying? Alex on Facebook, kind of what I expected from this team from the jump. Took a little more time, but we are playing well at the right time. Yes, it always seems like there is a moment towards the end of the season, or even 3/4 of the way through the season, where things do end up starting to click no matter what. That's like the Syracuse Jim Boeheim pattern. To be honest, I mean, it's kind of like that all, and we've talked about that this year, wondering when it was going to happen. So hopefully this is it. Obviously, the competition, Joe, like Coach said, Louisville has given teams fits, and we just really took it to them. Mm-hmm. Just took it to them, and we just played a great game.
Yeah, and you know what, too, to that comment, I mean, maybe we were a little naive to think like that, because what Coach said during his post game, you get these transfers, it takes a little while for everything to click. So all of a sudden you got Samir, who's a transfer, Jimmy, who's a transfer, Cole, who's a transfer. Yeah. And then it's like, maybe it took those three guys, a little bit longer to get comfortable with their role, to learn the rotations and everything like that. So again, to his comment, maybe he wasn't just talking about, players that transfer from here and go other places, but vice versa, the ones that come in. So you got to have to, have a little bit of, how you have like a longer leash for a true freshman because it's their first year in.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't want to give them that kind of leash, and you expect a little bit more from someone who's transferred and played, but it still is different team, different role, different schemes and styles of play, and that takes time.
To Alex's point, Noah says on Facebook, I think it's the part of the season where they've figured everything out, and now it's just about making shots. So, we're going to see. The last 4 games of this season are brutal. And we've got some games coming up right now that are going to be bunched together. So, you're looking at Notre Dame, still needs to be announced, but Duke, North Carolina, and Miami. Those are going to that's a gauntlet to finish the year. So, and then we got Boston College pretty close, back to back almost. Boston College, Virginia Tech, Boston College. So, second, obviously.
And the problem too, right there, is that you also have a situation where things really aren't spread out that far. So,
right.
I mean, you're talking about you're playing Georgia Tech, then at Notre Dame, then home against Duke, then at North Carolina, home away in 8 days.
Yep. It's close. It's bunched together because those are both makeup games. The Notre Dame and the other Boston College, right?
And really Boston College too. Yeah. So you're talking about you play Boston.
Was it Boston College or Georgia Tech that's the makeup game? I'm sorry.
Georgia Tech is a makeup game.
Okay,
but
right.
Boston College we had February 19th, then Georgia Tech the 21st, then at Notre Dame the 23rd, and 3 days later Duke, 2 days later at North Carolina.
Yeah.
And then we got
by
a
the
week
way,
before Miami. So
that's a brutal podcast schedule too, by the way. I'm just going to throw that out there. Yeah. Zach, top fan. Our boy Zach on Facebook. He says, Was at the game. Man, we got to think of a way to bring and keep up the energy in the Dome. I understand it was a blowout, but my God, I feel like I was at a golf game most of the time. Please play some music, something, anything during breaks. During break, sorry, my phone screwed up. Anything during breaks during the game, the band barely played. Well, yeah, the energy at the Dome sometimes is a little bit left to be desired. It's my one criticism quite often, and that's mostly with the locals. I feel like the students really hold their own for the most part. But yeah, it doesn't come across on the TV good, so I don't ever really judge it. But I mean, it needs a little bit of energy. I think. Fair enough, Joe?
Yeah. I mean, and I'm starting to question the attendance as well, because as much as it has looked better on TV, I saw a couple shots of the nosebleeds the other day, and there was like nobody up there.
Yeah, usually.
So I mean, I don't know if this is a situation where they're like moving people down, or if they want people to
bunch in towards the camera. This is where the camera is. Yeah, because it looks decent on TV.
And even then, 23, like, I don't care how bad we are, whatever, like, on a Saturday afternoon, I mean, come on.
Yeah. Right, well,
we get 23 in our...
Right.
23 in our sleep.
Right, well, we
usually get 23 on Tuesday nights at 9.
I know.
What?
Joseph on Facebook, complete domination today. Defense is better. Luckily, Louisville missed a bunch of open ones. Like I said weeks ago, this team goes through Edwards. He changes the game on both ends of the court. Great shooters making their shots lately. This team keeps playing like this. They're going to make the tournament. Whoa, Joseph. Pump the brakes. But we'll see what happens. If they keep playing like this, it's a possibility. And we'll see. How Syracuse would it be to just have this team all 2 games under 500 as late as it was, and us writing them off and coming out and making the tournament? That's a very Syracuse thing right there.
No, well, we got our schedule that we talked about, and the next 4 games are very winnable. The toughest one coming, next Saturday at Virginia Tech. But again, we talked about this. We talked about this stretch, and we lost to Pitt but beat Wake Forest, and here we go. First 3-game win of the season, or 3-game winning streak of the season. We're playing the best we've played, and we have the weakest competition left on our schedule. We bang out the next 4. You're talking about 16 and 11, and we're talking about bubble talk after that. Even though they're not as good a teams, that gets our record up there and then gets us into a situation where, we can talk about that. I'm right there with him, but this team has let me down too many times this year to be overly confident. I still don't want to fall in that trap.
I'm still in the show me phase.
You gotta get the next 4 before you start telling me, or before I start talking about that. And even with that, I mean, I still feel like there's just too many bad losses. I mean, Pittsburgh aside, you play them twice. That's
Colgate,
fine.
VCU.
But not even VCU. I mean,
VCU's not great right now. I mean,
VCU's not great. Georgetown hasn't won a Big East game.
Okay,
from what I understand.
That's really bad.
So Colgate, Georgetown are going to be the 2 games I think that we look back, and I still, if you had to put a gun to my head, we don't win. We don't make the tournament because of that Colgate game. But obviously, you win a whole bunch, and you take that Colgate game right out of it. Don't even allow them to use it against you, and they still have the game to do that.
Yes, Georgetown is 0-10 in Big East play. So that is correct, Joe. Robert on Facebook. It appears something has clicked. These last 3 games have been dominant. The shooting is clearly coming in. The defense is better, and Edwards and the Edwards factor is very real. 3 games at 90 points. Like what I'm feeling. They are gaining confidence with every game. How cool was it to see a smiling Jim Boeheim give Jesse a high five as he came out in a standing ovation? That was awesome. And, Jesse is playing as good as way better than I expected. Way better than I expected.
I think anybody.
Yeah, and he's just continues to gain that confidence and just get better and better and just finding ways to get in the back door and get wide open. And I'm like, huh?
No, nothing. You just said something about getting in the back door
and being wide open. Yeah, I mean, look, you got to go through the back door and be open, very open. Mm-hmm. And Jesse's been very open through the back door lately.
Just be safe.
And it's like, how do they even allow that? Like, hello,
it's tough, it's tough to stop. You see how much taller he was. Now,
yeah.
You do have to understand that the last 2 games, NC State and Louisville both had their top big guys out.
Yeah, Malik, what's his name? Well, he was suspended. What's his name there?
That's a weird last name. Yeah, that's so. But with Boston College coming up, it doesn't really even matter. But yeah, I mean, he's got to be on the right side of most improved player in the ACC, right? He's got to be on the right side.
Oh, I mean,
who else would be there?
Was it Malik Cunningham? No, geez, I'm crow. No. That's their damn quarterback.
Why is he playing basketball?
He might wanna. Malik Williams is suspended, so he's forward, 6'11" forward. He was suspended indefinitely, so we don't know what's going on there with that. But let's see. Head over to Twitter, unfortunately, at ZP4434. All the local media geniuses who have implied that the coach needs to retire should retire themselves. Coach is one of the GOATs. This team played very well today. Go Cuse. I like that. I like that tweet. You win the day.
That's great. And honestly, yes, you win the day. And also the way that that's how you got to look at media. It's a grain of salt type thing. That's why this Twitter and everyone just getting in their feelings. Media, whether it's local, whether it's national, they need something to talk about, right?
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, if Syracuse isn't playing well, they don't got anything to talk about. So what do they talk about?
Exactly.
They talk about a change. They talk about what's the problem. You want to blame it on coach. So at the end of the day, that's just how that goes. Doesn't mean that sometimes, I don't even really believe that they actually believe or even
believe what they're even
about
saying.
What they say, right? Like that tweet that you said, earlier, like it could completely just be to just get people unhinged and click this article. Clickbait now. It don't even have to be right.
I know, that's what sucks about Twitter.
If you don't like it, then just turn yourself off from it. But at the end of the day, people they got to report on something.
At Cuse Waterboy, this team is clicking and fun to watch. I encourage every fan to use my live in the moment mantra and enjoy the ride. Don't dwell on previous games or worry about tournament chances down the road. Just live for the current and then next game. Let's effing go. Yeah. So, that's kind of where I'm at. Taking it just game by game, day by day.
You have
because,
to.
Yeah.
You have to. It's a wide open ACC, even in any other. I don't care. I'm going to say I don't care, but there's a possibility where no matter how bad you play, you can still go to your conference tournament. You can get into the tournament, right? So, I just don't understand these people that just consistently negative, but yet they still watch the torture. If it's so bad, then just shut it off. See you next year, right? I don't know what to tell you, but if you're going to sit here and you're going to just complain, bitch, and just, put all this negative stuff out there, but then you're essentially, and probably your words, wasting 2 hours of your life every time they have a game. What are we doing? It just doesn't make any sense to me. If you're going to, it's either you're done and shut it off, or just be positive, live in the moment. Next game, next man up.
Ride it out.
See you the next game.
Yeah. Hey, PJ in the green room. I gotta believe. I can't totally see the face, but I got to get confirmation here, PJ, from you. I think this is Captain. I think this is Captain Patrick. Because he says, Joe talking about the back door. Typical. Nasty AF as usual. That's a Captain Patrick line right there, if I ever heard one. So
Sean, you're the one that said it.
I did say it, but I was talking basketball, okay?
Yeah, I get it, but you didn't use he's doing pick and rolls. He's not doing back door cuts.
Okay.
So when you bring up something like that he's not doing.
Okay, fair enough, Joe. At Cuse Lifer 15, Cuse is now 10-5 when I haven't fact checked this. Joe obviously a little butthurt pun intended, about the comments about him being nasty as F. So he that's how he gets. He gets all butthurt, and then he starts to get all nasty about everything. At Cuse Lifer 15, Cuse is now 10-5 when I haven't fact checked this, but Cuse is now 10-5 when Swider shoots 11 points or more, and they are now 11-1 when they shoot 49% or better, regardless of what the opponent shoots. So, yeah, I mean, we saw NC State just light it up with the threes, and they still pulled that game off, and it wasn't, it with ease towards the end. So, and they were hitting the threes, but they were hitting their shots, and Cole Swider contributed, and they look good. They look good out there doing that, and teams are going to hit on the threes against us. It's just how it goes. Yes, that is Captain Patrick by the door. Anyways, at Mahirio_10, this is what Cuse was going to do to Louisville in the 2020 ACC tournament after beating Carolina. Can't convince me otherwise.
That's what I like to hear.
Hey, yeah, I'm going to go with that. The
good old days.
Yeah. The good old days before the tournament was canceled. All right, moving on quickly. Here we are approaching the deadline here. Boston College coming up this Tuesday. I believe the game's 8 o'clock. Is it not? Yes, it is. 8 o'clock at Boston College. The all-time series between Syracuse and Boston College sits at 53-26 in favor of the Orange. The Orange men beat Boston College 10 straight games from 1985 to 1989. The two teams met 8 times in the Big East tournament, with Syracuse leading the series 5-3. The two teams had 6 seasons where they played 3 games. That's pretty good. That's 6 seasons playing 3 games in 1 year. Overall, Syracuse and Boston College were 34-17 in Big East, and that was Syracuse taking that. And all of that is according to orangehoops.org. Go there, check that site out. It's really good. The last time out in February of last year, a 75-67 win for Syracuse, and this was at home. Gerard, Boeheim, Dolezaj, Gary, and Griffin. Gerard with 16 points. Ken Pom has got Boston College ranked 145th and an adjusted offense of 168th and an adjusted defense ranked 154th. Ken Pom is predicting a 75-72 win for Syracuse at Boston College. Boston College is 167th in the net rankings, making this a quad 3 game. Okay, Joe. Going all the way back to non-conference play on December 11th for Boston College. They're 3-9 since then. Those 3 wins came against Clemson, Virginia Tech, and Pitt. Their last game on February 1st was a 64-55 loss to Virginia. So a week off before they're going to face Syracuse. They're only averaging 65 points a game. They're shooting 41% from the field and 31% from 3. And as I was looking at the roster, I don't usually make roster notes here because I let Joe do that, but not a whole lot of familiar faces. A couple transfers, a freshman guard they got out there, Jaden Zachary. So I was a little surprised. I haven't seen a ton of Boston College basketball this year, but looks like I can understand why they're struggling, I guess is what I'm saying, Joe.
Yeah, they definitely have had some issues for sure. I think they snuck some games out that I didn't think that people thought that they were going to be able to sneak out there. But really, I mean, the leader here, as far as the guy that I worry about most, is the Mekhi Ashton Langford, 6'3" guard, senior. He's been there for his whole career, and he's defensively, he's a pest, and he leads the team in scoring. And I think he's going to be a guy that Joe Girard might have some problems with. But he's handled that whole thing a little bit, a little bit better.
He's been pretty good. He's been pretty good.
Pretty good, average. But Jaden Zachary, the freshman guard, he's been starting. He's 6'2", and again another defensive guy. 6'2", 200-pound guard. So maybe that's the guy that goes on Joe Girard. But again, I feel like this team is definitely they know that the only chance they have of beating us is hitting threes and bringing that pressure on defense and creating turnovers and stuff like that, just trying to create havoc. So it's going to start obviously with those two guys. Mekhi Ashton Langford also has a brother, DeMar Langford Jr., 6'5" guard, sophomore, that starts as well. And he's pretty good. And then you got the 3-guard lineup, right? So we know what to deal with that. So the one thing to look at there is, if Buddy's the 2-guard, then maybe Mekhi Ashton Langford's guarding him, and he's going to have a 2-3 inch advantage, and that's kind of where our starting lineup, sometimes we get those height advantages in those places where we can get some shots, because now you're going to have a 6'5" DeMar Langford playing against either a Cole Swider or a Jimmy Boeheim. And then moving forward to the forward, TJ Bickerstaff is 6'9", 210 junior, transfer from Drexel. So he's a first-year guy at Drexel, still trying to figure it out, but he brings them a little bit of height, a little bit of athleticism, and their starting center is James Karnick, who's a 6'9", 230-pound guy. So when you look at their starters, I don't really see anybody who has anything for Jesse, and I do see a situation where one of the forwards and Buddy is probably going to have a little bit of a height advantage when it comes to the starters. Now, they do have Quentin Post, 7', 240-pound junior, that comes off the bench. And then lately, Gianni Thompson, a 6'8", 205-pound freshman, has been coming in and getting a little bit of burn. And also there is senior guard Brevin Galloway, 6'2", 200 pounds, and he's a transfer from College of Charleston. And he is also the next guy off the bench. So, I mean, you're looking at a freshman, Brevin Galloway is a transfer, and then Quentin Post, he transfers from Mississippi State. So you got 3 transfers that are still trying to figure it out. They got a little bit of size, but it seems like they don't go too far into their bench, maybe 7-8 deep. So kind of like us. I think they need to shoot the 3 very, very well and play very, very good defense, pesky defense, and then we have to shoot bad. I think that's what this team needs to be able to stay in it with us, especially the way that we're playing. But again, it's basketball, and you got to show up and you got to put the ball in the basket and play a game. So
that Jaden Zachary, okay, he's shooting about 45% from 3, and he's only taken 56. So he's going to have to take a ton, and really he would be the guy. And obviously, this isn't everybody's game plan. So, that's the guy. Now we all know, being Syracuse fans, that you think that Jaden Zachary is going to be the guy, and then someone else comes and just lights it up, because that's how it works. So, but that would be the guy, judging on paper, where you need to put all your chips to at least start this thing off. And like I said, they're not good from 3. 30.8, again, 31%. So,
right.
It's just, I'm not totally impressed with Boston College. I'm not saying that they can't upset, especially at home, but they've had a rough go. Let's be honest. I mentioned 3-9 for the past 12 games, and that dates back all the way to December 11th with a loss against St. Louis and a loss against Albany. I don't know. I'm not I guess I'm just not super impressed. Obviously, you never want to underestimate your next opponent, but I'm not super impressed. So, Joe, going back, sorry, we did not predict the Louisville game, so we didn't get that one, but we did predict the NC State game, and I got that one by 3, Joe. Feel free to do my math.
No, thank you.
No, thank you. Okay. Okay, so we're tied up, 5-5-1, 5-5-1, with a game missing, which was going to be the rubber match, but that's fine. Look, I think Syracuse rides the tide, man. They go into Boston College. I think they win this game. I'm not real worried about this game, but as soon as I say that is when they make me look stupid. You got, according to Ken Palm's analytics, he's got a 3-point win. I think with the way Syracuse is playing, if they can continue this, and this would be a good test going on the road and doing it, I think if they continue playing the way they're playing, that there's no question that they pull this off easily. And with Boston College only averaging about 65 points a game in the way they shoot, I think our defense is finding enough in them to be able to do a good job. And we'll see. Like I said, you never know what can happen when you put all your chips on one guy and then this, someone comes out and lights it up. But I got this thing 84-68 Cuse, Joe.
Oh, wow. Well, look at you, buddy.
Yeah, look. They're reeling me back in, man. They're reeling me back in. I mean, I don't know what else to say about it. That's so Syracuse. So.
Oh, absolutely. Let it out. Yeah, I mean, when you look at the wins that they've had and who's been successful and everything like that, a lot of times one of their big men really they go off. The best game that they won was a home game against Notre Dame, and they beat them pretty handily. I think they won by like 16. And they had between their two centers, Karnick and then Post, who comes off the bench, and then Bickerstaff, who is the power forward that starts. They had 44 points between those three. Notre Dame doesn't really have a true center. So when you look at some of these games, you kind of can tell a tale of what type of teams they can beat and not beat. And it seems to me like a lot of the wins that they don't really have a lot of impressive wins anyway. But yeah, I mean, I'm right there with you. I mean, it would have to be a really, really bad game to lose this game. And I think that that their defense is going to be a little bit better than the last couple of games, but I'm going to go Syracuse 78 and Boston College 63.
Okay. Still the same type of win, by the way.
No, yeah, I think it's going to be something. I mean, it might be a situation where we can get it to, keep it within 5 to 9. They might keep it in single digits, but I think at some point, and unless we just shoot like really, really bad, and I think that's at least a game that we end up pulling away.
Of course, it's in us to shoot bad at some point down the road here. Of course, it's in us. It can happen to anybody. But with Cole coming on, Jesse's doing what he's doing, Buddy being Buddy, Joe's got a little bit of confidence heading into this game. He's probably chomping at the bit. I just don't feel like this is the game where that happens. And I guess that's why I'm up to 84. So, all right. That is all. It is good to be back with you guys. We appreciate all of you for hanging out with us. Sorry about getting here late. I want to thank everybody that was in the green room hanging out. No one wanted to talk. It's fine. It's fine. But we appreciate all of you. Good to be back. So we will try to get back here Wednesday and talk about Boston College post game and give a little Virginia Tech preview. By the way, Virginia Tech, not that bad. Not that bad. So, with that said, for Joe, I'm Sean. We're out.
Peace.